Since 1917 will be released in theaters worldwide on January 10th, I think it will be interesting to see how Hollywood has depicted World War I through film, through about 3 or 4 films that I might review before January 10th. Hopefully. So the first film I'm going to review came out in 1930 and it's called All Quiet on the Western Front. Here's a review. All Quiet on the Western Front is a 1930 war film directed by Milestone, and it's based off of the 1929 German novel of the same name by Erich Remarque. So this movie is about a group of young German students that decide to enlist to the German army during World War I. And as they are in the Western Front, or the battlefield, they are in trench warfare, and they unfortunately suffer through the horrors and trauma of the First World War. And so this movie basically takes place during the 1910s, and about how these soldiers had to deal with the lifestyle that they had to be in, and as well as how it would be for a soldier of any country during the First World War. For a film from the 1930s, this movie really holds up today in 2020 because the direction of Lewis Milestone is so impressive that it feels as if World War I came to life through this film. And this movie has a very brutal and realistic depiction of World War I, and it really shows how devastating it was for the soldiers of all sides throughout the film. And one of the greatest things about Lewis Milestone is about how he was able to, shoot on location and film, actors being in, trenches on the set, and, having a lot of extras on the battlefield, making it appear that it really was. And for a film from 1930, this really impressed me with the way how Lewis Milestone directed it, because this is a movie that is so well directed that you really do watch events that are actually happening on the battlefield and even in the towns of Europe during World War I. Another thing I really appreciated about All Quiet on the Western Front is how this movie does not take sides. It does not villainize the German side, nor does it praise the French or English, but it shows how every single soldier, no matter which army they stood for or fought for, had the same exact reaction to the battlefields of World War I. And it is that war was really hell at that time, and how war is hell in general. And this movie does it through showing how horrible trench life was through the locations that they shot at, as well as how destructive and traumatizing the battlefields were when the soldiers had to charge through explosions, machine gun firing, and barbed wires. And this movie does a great job of filming it on location and having the actors feel as if they were in those situations. This movie is also very focused on character psychology. It's trying to reflect about how war can affect people physically and mentally, and how it can cripple them in that way. And this movie does this through not only the construction of the battle scenes, but also through rough cuts, quick edits, and montage. And in fact, the movie begins with a montage edit through these soldiers being very inspired by their professor's words about, if you serve your country, great things will happen to you for the fatherland. But once the war comes, and once the battle scenes are shown, it's edited very quickly. There's a lot of quick cuts, and it shows about how everyone gets affected by machine gun firing, explosions, airplanes, and all that type of stuff, which is a thing that I found really cool about how this film was constructed. Probably the saddest vibe that I found throughout this entire movie is about how the movie deals with death. And you really see it among majority of the German soldiers throughout the entire movie. They see their comrades getting killed. They see friends getting lost. And when I watched this movie, it really hit me home, and it really affected me. And it's showing about how death while serving your country is probably the most brutal form of death that one will face. In fact, there is a scene that really made me sad, and it really affected me, was when this German soldier kills a French soldier, but he feels so regretful later on that he wanted to save him, but he wasn't able to. And that was a part that was like, whoa, I never knew about how deep that this movie would go, not just from a soldier standpoint, but about how killing one another is just so horrible and awful. The only issue that I have with this movie is that there are just a lot of characters that were very underdeveloped for me. Now, I really do appreciate about how Paul, the main German soldier of the film, was developed extremely well and how he had a backstory. But majority of these soldiers didn't really have that much development to me personally. And I wasn't really able to get invested into them, but the only time I did was when they were on the battlefield and when explosions happened. But that's something that I can really forgive because this movie is trying to show about how people who we don't know or who we know personally get affected by something such as a tragedy. And that's something I can forgive throughout this film. And I think a lot of war films tend to struggle with characterizations when they have a lot of characters in the movie. But nevertheless, All Quiet on the Western Front is a movie that is so impressive, especially 90 years later from 1930 to 2020. And because of how well this movie is made, I have to give it a 9.5 out of 10. And thank you so much for watching my movie review. I know I'm sounding a little off because I do have a little bit of a cold in my throat. I don't have a sore throat, but my throat feels a little itchy and things are just feeling a little hazy for me. But the good news is that I'm not sick, but I still gotta look out for myself when it's flu season. But thank you so much for all your support, and I cannot wait to review more movies for y'all.